the cheapest Tacoma I could find on the internet, and it's really bad. It's rusty, it's got over 200,000 miles, and it's not running correctly.
Woohoo, clutch smoke!
But I need to get it running for cheap because I'm currently in a challenge against my friend Will to see who can build the best off-road car for less than $10,000. And I refuse to lose to his crappy Range Rover or I'll be really embarrassed. So let's get this thing in the shop and fix it. The first step in turning this thing from a terrible marketplace find into something that's gonna beat Will is changing all the fluids. I know it's probably obvious, but when you buy a sketchy car off the internet, you don't know when all the fluids were changed or if there's metal in the fluids, which would mean that I totally already lost this challenge. So I'm gonna drain the oil first and see how bad it is. I hope it's okay. This thing has a hefty under tray that is not blocking the oil drain plug, but blocking the oil filter, and I think it'll just make it a lot easier. This thing already took a hit. We went off-roading in the first video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I slammed this thing into a rock, and it saved my car from near destruction. And I'm gonna take it off for now, or at least hinge it down. I think that's how it works. Let's see if this brings it down or not. That doesn't do anything. How are these attached? All right, I'm gonna have to put these back in and just try getting the oil filter from the top, because that's not working. Woo! How does it look? Wow, that oil's old. It is disgusting, but it is not shiny. So that is a great step in the right direction. I don't know how old that oil is, but it is dark black and really gross. So I'm glad that it's being changed. People probably don't do a lot of basic maintenance on these cars because they know they're durable and they don't really care. We're also gonna need to solve something that's really scary on these trucks in a little bit, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I took the wheel off for a good reason because it's the only access I had to my oil filter. I kind of need to hot swap it though because it's gonna leak oil everywhere if I don't do it fast. Not again. We'll have to see if that leaks once we put oil in it, but I'm about to put the drain plug back in with a new crush washer. Never forget your new crush washer. I've done that a lot of times. And then you leak oil everywhere. Got my oil in a bag. This thing has, frustratingly, a very weird little fill area where this funnel doesn't actually go in. I'm just resting it. So hopefully it doesn't all come pouring out. Let's see. We're about to have that fresh oil feel. I don't know if it's just me, but when you put new oil in a car, I know it doesn't make a difference, but it feels faster for some reason. Let me know in the comments if you also feel like your car is faster after an oil change. I know, it sounds stupid, and it's definitely just mental. All right, that's 2. I'm gonna do just 5 and save the 6th. Just make sure I get the oil level right. Woo! It sounds happier for some reason. Let me make sure it's not pissing oil out. It looks pretty good. I think it's good. Just gonna let it warm up, check the oil level, then we can move on to more pressing problems. And the problems that I'm scared of that I don't want to do, but they're really important to do. Oh yeah, we're golden now, bud. I just found hidden within. I thought it was a tracking device. It's an electronic device that stops my car from corroding by electronically charging the panels of my car. It doesn't shock me when I touch it. I was wondering where all these wires run to.
If anyone's tried using that before, let us know, because I don't believe that would ever do anything.
Anti-corrosive device. Now it's time to drain the trans fluid. We want to make sure that both bolts move. So I'm actually going to check if the fill plug moves. Whoa, 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 whoa! Ah, just doing that. Oh my gosh, it's getting all over me. It doesn't look terrible though, but it's definitely old. That went everywhere. It's also all over the floor. My floor has become just permanent slip and slide after doing all this. It'll never be the same again. I'm sure that's enough. Hopefully not too much. And now we move back to the next important fluid change. Literally just a foot back, and that is the transfer case. This is what allows me to go from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive to 4-low. I am again gonna make sure that the fill plug actually opens. Okay, it does, good. Now I can take the drain plug out. This will go everywhere probably again. Really glad that these are all not super seized on there. Ooh, Ooh, you know what? That looks all right. Tighten that back down. And just like that, we are finished with the fluid changes. I think this thing is pretty good. We'll have to do one more fluid change in a little bit, but let's tackle another problem that we have. This was something I knew I'd have to do because the owner mentioned that the front brakes were really worn. But it turns out the rotors themselves are fine and the pads are worn. So all I have to do is replace the pads, which is even cheaper and even easier because these got this nice little system where I should be able to just pull the pads out, put the new pads in, and be good to go. Yeah, so the problem is, first off, they're really in there. Second off, once I pull them out, because the pad material has been worn down, the pistons on the actual brake are pushed in and the new thicker pads won't fit. I could just take it off. Oh my gosh. I've reverted to using C clampage to get this done because this design is a little bit more annoying than other ones that I've done. It's kind of just a one side at a time sort of shindig. That's one side, take that out. All right, now Will is banging on my rotor until it comes off. Because we're already this far, why not change the rotors?
That is not how you're supposed to remove that. I thought this thing was pretty rust-free, Jackson.
Yeah, now it is. Now that the car can properly stop and the fluids are all changed, let's get to the engine, which is kind of important. This engine's really reliable and fantastic, but it does need some maintenance items taken care of. Just so I feel comfortable once we take this thing off-road that it's not gonna do anything stupid and make me fail the challenges for no good reason. Now obviously I wanna save as much money as I possibly can for the mods. I think that's where we're gonna make the biggest difference with the off-roading, but I still need to do some maintenance, and luckily for me, it's all pretty inexpensive. Now when I accelerate in this car, it breaks up really bad. Like if you're accelerating, foot to the floor, breaking up the whole time and backfiring. And I think that's because the plugs and coils probably haven't been replaced in a while. That's what gives your car actual spark to create combustion. And if those are going bad, it can cause weird hesitation or misfires and things like that. I got new plugs and coils for less than 50 bucks. This car has such cheap parts, it's awesome. So I'm gonna replace them. It's kind of a weird design in this car, but actually I'll do spark plugs one at a time first, I suppose, and we'll go from there. How bad is it? That's not horrible, but it's not great. These could definitely use to be replaced. This is all a little more cramped than I was anticipating it to be. I sort of thought with Toyotas it would be even easier to work on. Not that this is hard, but everything is really close together in here. Now that the spark plugs are in on that side, I can start to line up my new plug wires. This is gonna add a little flair to the engine bay. I'm gonna figure out how to run these properly. And then I can put everything back together that I took apart. This has to be one of the weirder designs I've ever seen, with the coil packs just on one side, acting, I guess, as a distributor for the other side. Come out. These have seen better days. I'm worried that it's the coil packs. Now there could be 3 things causing this misfire. It could be the spark plugs, which is nice and cheap. It could be the plug wires, which I'm also replacing. That's cheap. But if it is these 3, at least it's not 6, I suppose, which a normal engine would have. If it's these 3 coil packs, these are usually pretty expensive, but I might need to buy new ones because these are disgusting. But let's see what happens after we replace the plugs and wires and hope that that's enough. Wow, that one's bad. That is definitely in bad shape. All right, let's see if she runs. There's a chance that this is not done correctly. I've never done plugs and plug wires on a Tacoma. So let's see if I did it okay. This is the smoothest the engine has sounded so far. I think I did it good, and I think it's way happier than it was before. So definitely a worthwhile $50 investment. I love doing little maintenance on cars and having it work way better than it was before. It's such a good feeling. But we still have to do something a little bit scary to this car. I'm a big dummy, guys. I didn't look all the way in the box. It turns out there was coil packs for the 50 bucks. I just didn't realize they came with everything because I didn't look in the box all the way. I wasn't expecting to get them for that cheap. It's working great, but I'm just gonna replace these real quick because why not? It'd be silly not to. New coil packs are in. Let's move to the next problem. That was stupid. The Tacoma is running pretty well now. We've got the engine sorted, we've got the brakes sorted, we got the fluids sorted. It's great, but it does have a common Tacoma problem that I'm trying to solve. When I turn it on, there is immediately a check engine light, and it will stay. The reason it has a check engine light is because these commonly have vacuum leaks. Now, I've done a pretty deep search of all these vacuum hoses that run along the engine to see if there's anything cracked. And I probably could run a smoke test and really find out, but everything looks pretty good. So that leads me to believe that it could be 2 things. And the first is, well, I brought the wrong tool, but the first is this purge valve. It sits right here. And what it does, this tube is running to a charcoal canister, which is off-putting some gas vapor. So it kind of stores extra emissions, and the gas vapor comes back through here when the engine is warm, comes through this other tube, which runs into the engine and burns off the excess gas vapor. But these purge valves are known to fail. The way that we can easily test that is if we take the one that's supposed to bring the emissions up through it, if we take that off and there's vacuum pulling from this purge valve when we start the car before the car is warm, the valve is broken and therefore would cause a vacuum leak. This hose is not leaky, but it is knackered.
It doesn't look good, yeah.
I'm gonna grab a screwdriver and we'll test that, and I hope it's that, because that's a really easy fix and common. This comes off, and now we have this little hole here. When I turn the car on, if I put my finger there and it immediately is pulling my finger in, has vacuum, the valve's blown, and that's our problem.
Car, you turn it on.
All right, let me know.
Car, finger.
Reverse valve.
Yep. It's not sucking my finger.
No.
It also looks pretty new. That's not your problem.
Dang, I was really hoping that was my problem.
Oh, you might need to do a smoke test.
Or it's the gas cap, because it doesn't look stock. You see any obvious leaks that I missed?
No. Diagnosing a vacuum leak without a smoke tester is one of the most annoying things to do in a car. Air can leak out of very small holes, as I'm sure you wonderful people are all aware of, so.
Theory number 2 is, before I do any of that, this gas cap definitely seals, but I don't know if it's correct. I looked up the OEM one, and it does look different than this, and this has a couple chips in here.
It did look like it sealed pretty good, honestly.
These gas caps, though, if they're wrong, or if they have any problems with the seal, they will cause an evap problem. Let's change the gas cap, And then, if that doesn't work, let's run a smoke test. Again, it's probably not the end of the world that it has a check engine light, but I'd love to fix it. You'll never believe this. I put the new gas cap on, cleared the codes, running the car, and the check engine light is gone. I'm a genius. Now that we have most of the things taken care of, we still have a couple important items that I've been saving till the end. The first one is a little bit easier. The second one is what I've been dreading doing the whole time. Before we do that, I want to make sure that my clutch properly works. You see, the clutch pedal is kind of weird in this car, and I took a look at the fluid, the clutch fluid, and it is disgusting. And I don't think anyone's ever changed it, so I'm gonna guess that's probably why clutch pedal doesn't feel great. Instead of replacing the clutch, which I definitely burned, by the way, when we went off-road, insert clip here, I think the clutch still has plenty of life left, but the clutch pedal could be a little bit better. By the way, driving manual off-road, really hard. I can drive manual easy peasy on the road. Off-road, I don't know if there's specific techniques I should be doing while I'm crawling up rocks trying to ride the clutch. If you know, drop a comment. Step one is get the old bad fluid out. Fluid transferring. Will is in the truck. I'm gonna lift it up. He's gonna pump up the jam. I'm gonna be underneath, cracking open the screw and closing it. And that should be how we bleed it nice. All right, clutch has got new fluid in it. Now we can move to the thing I don't want to do. I have pre-soaked some bolts down here. This is the thing that I'm scared of. This is the lower ball joint, and it's kind of sketchy on these cars. It's a known failure point that can ruin the car. It could be detrimental failure. Hold on, I'll show you why. Most ball joints are mounted like this, facing upward. That's great. There's plenty of downward pressure onto the ball joint. All is fine. That's how most ball joints are. The one on the Tacoma is like this, which is a problem because if it ever fails and pushes out, this entire hub of the car, like the entire wheel hub, will just detach, and it is really bad. I'll show you some pictures to explain a little further. The visual is definitely helpful because I'm explaining it badly. But if you don't replace these every 100,000 miles, that can happen. And that's at least the interval that people online tell you to do it at. And if you don't know if they've been replaced, which I don't know, and the past owner never told me they were, and they look pretty bad, then it's time to replace them. So hopefully we get this right. I'm gonna be very careful. Step one is to detach the tie rod, which I've pre-soaked it with some penetrant to get in there, and hopefully it comes out, although this is all very crusty. There we go. All right, I have one out. Will's trying to get the other out, but look at this. This is the old ball joint, and you can see I can move this freely with my hand. That's bad. That's the start of failure on these. This one, I can't move. So it's a good thing we're replacing them. And they're pretty crusty, so I'm glad we are. I said, yeah. The Tacoma is ready to go off-roading now. We've got all the maintenance done. It's looking good. I just took it through a bunch of mud to get it up here and it performed perfectly, but we have a lot of mods to do to this thing in order to compete against Will. So if you want to see that, subscribe, check it out. Thanks for watching. If you like this one, watch one of these two. I love you. See you in the next one.
It's not as uphill as it was before, but we got momentum coming in. Yeah, easy. Easy.
It gripped up.